so here is the tank and mudguard for the Enfield. So the tank's obviously got some filler in it, but again, all it is just a skim. And then we've gone over it with Bondrite acid etch on the metal. You can't really see it. It's kind of, I suppose, through the camera, it possibly looks a bit maybe goldy. See if we can see it on the mudguard. You can possibly pick up that. But yeah, it's just an etch that you wipe on with a special rag. It's like a rag that comes impregnated with the etch already on it. So yeah, so I'm gonna fire some primer on these now. I'm not gonna record it, I just thought I'd do a really quick clip of what's going on now. That's the tank and the mudguard ready. Like I say, I won't record it because priming's boring. I will cut back to recording when we do some colour and get into the fun stuff. So yeah, happy to. And we're back and we have these bits in primer now. So this is I think it's Leckler, if I remember rightly. Memory's rubbish. Leckler, and it's called Green TI Primer, and it's really nice stuff. It goes on nicely, gives a massive amount of build, and it flats down really nicely too. So yeah, there we go. Tank and mudguard done in primer. So like I say, I didn't record it because it's the boring part, but everything's okay. It's hanging upside down. Apart from two little nibbles there, look. Them two little buggers there. I just touched my finger on there when I was trying to hang it up to do the underneath. But that's okay, because we've got plenty of primer on there, and that'll flat, no problem. Right then, so we are back in the workshop today. I'm just going to do a tiny bit on just flattening the tank. So this is the tank for the special sticker bike that Craig's doing from Doghouse Customs. Obviously I primed it earlier, you saw me do that. I wasn't going to do any flatting footage because it's a bit boring, but I thought I'd do just a little bit, just in case some of you guys are interested in kind of like a procedure. I've done most of the tank actually. There you go. Most of that's flatted. So I'm just going to do this little bit. I'll put it on time lapse, but I'll just really quickly go through how we do it. So you can DA it, but I'm going to do it with this, this soft block, just by hand. So in one of the previous videos, I think it was Craig's other tank actually. I just did a little video. You can always go back and have a look at that. That's probably explained a lot better. But just for this, I'll just put it on time lapse, and I'll just show you quickly how we do it. This is 400 dry on the soft pad, and we're just going to block it out. And like I say, try and do it diagonally. Like that, rather than doing it long ways. I always like to do it diagonally if I can. It's not always possible, depending on the shape or, But there you go, and you can see our guide coat is leaving, that's telling us where we've still got some peel in the primer, so that's leaving sort of low spots in the primer there. So yeah, so we put the guide coat on, and we'll get rid of all of this until it's all smooth, and then we can go over it by hand with probably a 600 dry pad just by hand, 600 foam pad just by hand, and that's it, that'll be done. So I'll whack it on time lapse, and we'll get this little bit finished up. Right then, so we've just seen me do this this side in the time lapse with the block. Obviously, this part here is, you know, there's so much shape to it. You can do it with the block, but this bit here is just as easy to do it by hand. So your hand kind of takes the contour and the shape of the tank. So yeah, so this little bit here, I'm just going to do by hand. And we'll get that finished up. Good enough. Little bit there, look, see that little, don't know, you guys cannot see that, but look, let me show you quickly. There you go, there is a tiny little bit there, tiny little dot. Well, there's no point in leaving it. We'll get rid of that, because all these little things, all these little things will, you know, can possibly show up. There you go, see, we've got rid of that. That took seconds. Got a little bit down there we've got to do, look. And that's it. That's good enough. Them little bits around there, that's fine, because that's where the weld is. That's where the bottom of the tank is welded through to the top. So there we go. That's it. So the last little bit now. So I've gone with 800. So this is a little, you know, foam pad, sandpaper, and I'm literally just going to tickle over it really quickly. So we've basically done all of our flatting with the 400. So, you know, getting the actual primer flat has already been done. All we're doing with the 800 is just taking some of the 400 scratches out of it, just to make it a little bit smoother, that's all. You don't have to do this. Sometimes I will, sometimes I won't. Again, keep your hand nice and flat. We don't need to do it with fingers like this, because this is going to put grooves in it. So hand nice and flat on the pad, oops, on the pad like that. And yeah, just gently go over it. At this point, it doesn't really matter what direction you kind of flat your primer with it. As long as you, like I say, as long as you've done the actual flatting with the 400, this 800. Generally won't put any sort of odd flatting marks in it at all. But as a rule, you know, just either circulate or diagonal. You don't ever really want to be doing that with the fingers, else you will end up possibly, well, you won't, not with 800, but like I say, as a rule, you will do all your flatting sort of, you know, like this. Hoping that makes some sense. It's quite hard trying to describe things, when you're so used to doing them automatically, it's quite hard to try and explain things. So I do apologise if some of you guys are like, oh, he said this and then now he's doing this. It's quite difficult to explain. I think bodywork is one of the hardest things to actually teach, because essentially you find your own way of doing it. There definitely is a right way of doing it and there is a wrong way of doing it, but generally you do find your own preference. So yeah, I'm not a teacher. I've got no no numbers and letters behind my name. This is all, I've been doing this for probably over 30 years. Kind of not self-taught, but taught in a workshop, not sitting at a desk, pushing a pen around. But there we go. Anyway, we are. So here we are in the booth, all ready to go. So these are all flatted. We've remasked the top out. A little bit of spot primer there on the where we broke through to the filler. So that's the tank ready. Mudguard's all ready. Yep, we've masked the inside of the mudguard off because that's going to go black. The tank, I've just dusted some black on the underside of the tank actually, because I'm not going to be able to get right up there with the colour. So yeah, we're all ready to go. I'm going to fire the burgundy on, and I think I'm probably going to call that a day once that's on. So yeah, we'll get that on. Okay, so I've just put the first coat on and it's just slightly too thick. So I'm just going to drop a splash more thinners in it. Not a lot, only a little bit. So we'll just thin it down just a tiny bit, because although the tank's got to have a few more processes, I would like to get the rear mudguard with there we go, that's literally it, all we need. Yeah, I'd like to get the rear mudguard with quite a nice gun finish, so we'll just thin it down just a tiny bit. So this is just a 2-pack or 2K top coat that we're using, 2 to 1, so it means 2 parts paint to 1 part hardener, and then around 10 to 15% thinners. So the thinners is more of your own preference really. This was thinned to 10%. Just the tiniest bit too thick. So we've gone to about 15 now. So we'll do that again. So we put the filter on, little filter there. Filters out any little bits of dirt in the paint. There we go. And we'll try that again. Hopefully, I mean it's covered really well, so hopefully a couple of coats and that'll be done. And we're using the DeValvis GTI Pro Light today, which is my favourite gun of choice for any top coat, so yeah, off we go. Right, there we go. We're all done. Well, we're done with this colour anyway. I'm going to leave it here for now. That's me done for the day actually. But yeah, I mean, that's gone on okay. We've got a couple of little nuggets in it, which is slightly annoying, but there you go. To be honest, they will flat out, no worries, but like I say, we've got another step to do on the tank, so I'm not sure whether Craig's said anything about that. So I won't say anything either. But yeah, like I say, you do have to, let me move you a bit, you do have to kind of turn into a robot when you're painting. Everybody paints differently, it's to their own preference. But when I say turning into a robot, I kind of mean, so your gun speed and your drop level and trigger off at the end of a stroke. So you come across the panel, trigger off, drop down, trigger on, across, trigger off, drop down, trigger on, across. That's quite complicated to say actually. But yeah, so you know, and your speed has to be constant, and your drop down has to be constant, and you're always better off to follow the same path every time you do something. Always start at the same place. So your first coat, if I started here, first coat like this, all the way around, the next coat I will start there again, because it kind of programs your head. If you start from a different area, sometimes you're a little bit, oh, have I done this bit, or have I missed that bit? So you know, you can't paint anything, you can't do stuff like this. This is not, you know, you don't do it. You start there, nice even, and then round, bang, 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 over the top. So, you know, I was going to say simple. It's not simple. But yeah, so I'm quite happy with that. Like I say, a couple of little nuggets in it. I will show you very quickly. There's no point in not, because this is paintwork. You can be as precise and careful as you can, but the minute you start putting paint on, it's in the hands of the paint gods then. So, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, I'll show you that, and hopefully we'll pick up this video, well, another video, later on for another process. So thanks for joining us, and I'll see you soon.